Next we have the status bar, which is down in the bottom left hand corner where it currently says ready. If you're familiar with AutoCAD, this is almost like the command line. All it will do is just display information about how to use that tool. It will also give us some tips and hints on what the next step will be. So to give you an example, if I choose my wall tool, it's asking me to click to enter wall start point. So I'll click. It's now telling me to enter the wall end point. And it also is telling me that space bar flips the orientation. So if you're ever unsure of what your next step is, just refer down to the status bar. Next is the view controls, which is down here in the left hand corner. The first thing there in our view controls is the scale. With Revit, when we're creating our view, so currently we're on our level 0 if we refer over to our project browser. So we apply the scale to this actual view. Again, if you're familiar with AutoCAD, so in your model space, you'll have a scale of 1:1, and then in your paper space, that's where you'll create your viewports and then scale on your sheet. So with Revit, what you do is you apply all of your visualizations and scalings, etc., to that specific view. So it's currently set to 1:100. If you select it, you'll see our list, our typical list of scales. If what you want isn't there, again, just selecting custom, we can create a new scale. Next is the detail level. For this, I'm going to place a small wall. With the detail level, we have three options. We have coarse, medium, and fine. That is referring to the level of detail currently associated with that wall. So right now we're able to see brick, cavity, block, and plasterboard. We can adjust that level of detail if we want to display nothing. So if I change over to coarse, we'll just get a grayed out hatch. We have our medium and fine. Medium and fine would generally have the same detail finish, but if we were to display, for example, a door or a window which would have more detail than a wall, then again you'd see the variances between the medium and fine. So the purpose of that, if I go back to our coarse level, if we were doing just typical sale plans or a planning drawing, we don't want to show the full detail level of the current wall, so we'll just use the coarse. Next is the visual style. For this, I'm going to go into my 3D view. If you want to follow along, we'll go up to the quick access toolbar at the top, and there's the 3D view. We'll select that. And there's the 3D view of my wall. So our next option, the visual style. There we have our wireframe, hidden line, shaded, consistent colors, and realistic. That is referring to the visual style of this wall. So if I revert that back to wireframe, you'll see it becomes a transparent wall. We have our hidden line where it's no longer transparent. Shaded will introduce colors. We have a consistent color with no shading. And we have a realistic, which shows a realistic image of the brickwork. Now obviously the wireframe is going to use up a lot less of the CPU usage than the realistic mode. So for general modeling, it's always best to either use wireframe or hidden line. If you're to model in realistic all the time, your computer is going to be very slow and there's a possibility of the software crashing. So wall modeling will stick with the hidden line. Next we have the sun. So we're able to display the sun in the project. We're able to put it to a specific location. This is something we will of course cover in this course. Once you have set up your sun, you can then turn on your shadows. So we can also have that shadow is cast by changing the sun settings. Then we have our quick access to render our image. Then we have quick access here to show our crop. make our crop visible. If we're happy with our 3D view, we can actually lock this view in position and then use that for print or putting onto a sheet later on. Next, we have the glasses symbol, and that is a temporary hide or isolate. So if we wanted to temporarily hide an object or to isolate the object to solely work on that, we would use the glasses. The small light bulb beside it is how we can then reveal what's hidden in the drawing. And the remaining views we're not going to cover in this course. Then over on the bottom right hand corner, we have what are called selection toggles. I'm going to go back to level 0 in my project browser. So double click on level 0 to go back. So to go over the selection toggles, the first one there is a select links. So when we link in a drawing or CAD file and so on, we can use this to select them. If we have created an underlay and we wanted to then select it, we'll use the select underlay. If we have pinned any elements in the drawing, this is where we can then select them. The next one is called select element by face. This is basically where we're able to select an element by its face. So if we had a floor slab, we can click on the actual face of the floor slab instead of clicking on the edge of the floor slab. There we have drag elements on selection. What this does, it allows you to drag an element without selecting it. So you just have to click and hold and you can drag it. If it's turned off, you have to click it to select it and then you can drag it. The next displays the background processes. So if anything is happening in the background, it will be displayed here. And next is the selection filter. With the selection filter, we're able to highlight multiple elements and we can then filter out things that we don't want to be included in that selection. We also have the context menu. We access that by right clicking. When we right click, it will open up the context menu and that will just display some various options. It also depends on what's currently selected. So if I select the wall and then right click, you'll notice I get a different variation of options.